You ever see a town so baked by the sun that even the horses squint? Texas, 1881, the kind of place where dust gets in your teeth and every face looks carved from old leather. I still remember that afternoon at the livestock auction, the last one before winter, when most folks were half drunk and all out of patience. That's when I first laid eyes on her standing barefoot in the shadows behind a battered old corral gate, hair matted to her cheeks, dress torn, wrists bound by a rope held by a man who smelled like rot gut and regret. He was shouting about his dumb daughter to anyone who'd listen, slurring out that she was deaf, couldn't talk, but would cook, clean sheep too. You know, sometimes I think men laugh loudest when they're ashamed. The others jeered, spat, looked away. Me? I'd come for a horse. Not a girl, but the way she looked at me, calm, steady, no begging in her eyes, just this quiet understanding like she'd already seen the worst of men and figured I wasn't it. The drunk tried pawning her off, said she came with the mare for half what he'd get for either alone. I should have walked away, really. But you ever get that feeling, like a story's already written and all you can do is turn the page? I paid the coin, not enough for a soul, but all I had. The girl flinched behind me as the drunk tossed the rope, then melted into the dust. When we reached my wagon, she climbed in silent as moonlight, settled in a corner with nothing but a thin blanket around her shoulders. We rode out of town with the wind and dust chasing us. No words between us, just the creak of wagon wheels and the promise of something neither of us could name yet. My place wasn't much one main house with a roof that leaned like an old dog, a couple outbuildings, and a whole lot of quiet. I figured she'd bolt, or at least keep her distance. But she just stepped down, scanned the prairie like she'd always belonged, then found the kitchen and set to work. Never a word, never a sound. That night, I left a piece of chalk by the table, tapped the doorframe, said name, slow as I could. She crouched, scratched Emmeline, in careful, slanting letters. I said it aloud, testing how it felt. She didn't smile, just slipped out to the barn. But it was a start. Next morning, I found her crouched beside that old mare, hands working gentle circles over a swollen leg, her face close to the animal's flank. Not a word, not a flinch, the kind of quiet you learn only after living with pain. She moved through chores like she'd always been there. Each night, she'd scribble a note. Bacon low, winds up, dog limping. Sometimes I wondered if she heard more than she let on. Then came the first storm, a Texas storm that starts with a whisper, ends with the sky torn open. I was in the cattle shed, checking a sick calf, when Emmeline appeared out of nowhere, barefoot, eyes wide. She grabbed my sleeve, pointed up, hands shaking. Before I could ask, the world exploded. Lightning struck the big oak, flame and smoke and terror. She'd known, somehow, before the thunder, before the air even changed. That night, as we sat in the kitchen, no words needed, I realized I wasn't alone anymore. I started noticing things. Emmeline never spoke, never signed, but she'd know when a cow was about to calve, when a wind would shift, when a man carried shame so deep it nearly drowned him. One night, after town folks spread ugly rumors about land my father took in the war blood debts I never could repay, I sat on the porch, weighed down by ghosts. Emmeline came, set her hand on my shoulder, steady as breath, and I swear it felt like forgiveness. But small towns, they don't love what they can't understand. Whispers started. She stares at the cattle too long, touched a sick goat. Now it's dead, which maybe. When a ranch hand's boy burned with fever, Emmeline slipped into the barn, placed her hands on his chest, then found herbs from the kitchen. Walby sunrise. The boy was well. The mother wept, but the gossip spread faster. Soon, a crowd showed up at my gate, torches in hand, voices shaking with certainty. She hears what she shouldn't, they said. She's cursed. I faced them down, told them she'd saved more souls than they ever would. Said if they wanted her gone, they'd have to go through me. Funny thing, no one ever wants to fight a man with nothing left to lose. The torches went cold, boots stomped away. That night, Emmeline put her hand over mine by the fire, not thanks, just recognition. That's when the ranch finally started to feel like home again. Winter settled in, snow laying soft over all the scars. Emmeline made a cloak for me from scraps, brewed coffee before sunrise, brushed the horses in slow, sure circles. She taught me to listinto birds at dusk, to the hush before a storm, to the way silence can be an answer, not just an emptiness. She taught me signs for water, fire, thank you. I taught her to ride, though she moved with the horse as if born to it. Nights, we'd share meals by the fire. No words needed, just glances, small smiles, the slow build of trust. One stormy night, I got thrown from a horse out by the ridge, came home bleeding, shoulder cracked. She found me before I even called out, cleaned the wound, pressed her lips to the edge, as if sealing the pain away. Later, I wrote on a scrap of paper, "I want to hear your heart if you'll let me listen with mine." She touched the words, smiled for the first time, real and wide, and I knew some things don't need voices. After that, folks started coming for help. A ranch hand with a busted shoulder, a widow shaking with grief. Emmeline never asked, just listened, offered what she could. People left pies, scarves, preserves by the gate. Each morning, she'd write on the chalkboard, "Today will be good, I can feel it." You know what? Most days she was right. Then one Sunday, a boy went missing, vanished at dawn, one boot found by the tree-line. While men shouted and dogs barked, Emmeline pressed her hands to the earth, followed tiny signs through thickets and creeks until we found him, safe beneath a bent cedar. After that, no one called her strange. They called her the girl who hears with her heart. Years slipped by, measured not in birthdays but in seasons, in the quiet sound of a heart saying, "I'm still here." Children came to learn from her, not with words, but with presence. She'd show them how to calm a frightened horse, how to listen for what isn't said. Evenings, we'd sit under the cottonwood, sharing tea, a tune on the harmonica, her thumb tracing slow circles over my hand. One night, Emmeline spoke a whisper, rough and soft. "I do not need sound, only you." And I told her, "I hear you. Always have." The world moved on, the old wounds faded, but some stories stick. If you've ever been seen without a word, if you believe love is bigger than voices, then you'll understand why silence on the plains meant everything. Out here, where wind and hearts speak the same tongue, we found a language no one else could teach us. Maybe that's all any of us want, someone who listens, really listens, when the rest of the world just wants to talk. So let me ask you, when it comes to belonging, forgiveness, and the kind of love that doesn't need a shout, whose side would you stand on? Drop your thoughts below. Does true understanding come from words or from listening with the heart? Let's see where the conversation leads.